I didn't realize how much I had lost until I heard the sound of cash being counted while I couldn't catch my breath. Not the money itself. That's not what broke me. It was the rhythm of it, crisp, mechanical, calm, while I was drowning. When I reached out my hand that night and saw her eyes flicker toward the stack of bills instead of my face, I knew something was wrong. Something I had been too afraid to name. She didn't move toward me. She moved toward the money. Her fingers never stopped counting. I'm looking at the numbers right now, and it breaks my heart. 83% of you are watching this story about a mother being abandoned by her own daughter, and you're leaving without hitting subscribe. Is that who we are? People who witness betrayal but won't stand against it. If you believe that a mother's love should never be taken for granted, that family means something, that greed should never win, then prove it. Subscribe right now. Comment where you're watching from. Don't let my story be just another video you scroll past. Stand with me. My name is Mary James, but everyone calls me MJ. I'm 74 years old now, and I've lived long enough to learn that the people who hurt you most are the ones you die for. My daughter's name is Vivian. She's 38, gorgeous. The kind of woman who walks into a room and everything stops. Dark hair that catches light like silk. Designer clothes, perfect nails, a smile that could sell anything, including lies. I raised her alone. Her father, a man named Dennis, walked out when Vivian was 6 years old. He left on a Saturday morning while she was at ballet practice. No note, no phone call, just an empty closet and a maxed-out credit card in my name. I never saw him again. I never wanted to. From that moment forward, it was just Vivian and me against the world, and I made sure she had everything I never did. I grew up in rural Georgia, the youngest of 7 children. My father worked in a textile mill. My mother cleaned houses for white families in town. We wore hand-me-downs and ate beans 4 nights a week. I didn't own a new pair of shoes until I was 14, and even then, they were from the church donation bin. I swore my daughter would have better. So I worked. I worked until my hands cracked and bled. I worked until my feet swelled so badly I couldn't fit into my shoes. I worked until I forgot what it felt like to wake up without pain. I had 3 jobs. During the day, I worked as a janitor at Mercy General Hospital. I scrubbed floors in the ICU, emptied bedpans, wiped down gurneys still warm from the bodies that had just left them. I saw people die on those floors. I saw families collapse in grief. I saw doctors walk away like it was nothing. At night, I cleaned office buildings downtown. 12 floors of fluorescent lights and empty cubicles. I'd vacuum carpets while the city slept, wipe fingerprints off glass doors, empty trash bins filled with half-eaten lunches and crumpled reports. On weekends, I worked at a laundromat on the east side. I folded other people's clothes, matched their socks, pressed their shirts. I'd come home smelling like bleach and fabric softener, my fingers raw from the heat of the industrial dryers. I never took a vacation. I never went to a movie. I never bought myself anything that wasn't on clearance. Every single dollar I earned went into 2 places: Vivian's future and a savings account I swore I'd never touch unless it was life or death. That account was my safety net, my independence, my proof that I had done something right. By the time Vivian graduated from college, a private university in North Carolina, full tuition paid by me, I had saved $318,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was mine. I didn't tell Vivian about the money for years. I didn't want her to see me as a resource. I wanted her to see me as her mother, someone who loved her for who she was, not what she could give me. But the secret started to feel heavy, especially after she got married. His name is Roland Whitmore. The first time Vivian brought him home, I knew he was wrong for her. He was handsome in that polished, corporate way, tall, well-dressed. He worked in finance, something to do with investment portfolios and hedge funds. I didn't understand it, and he didn't bother explaining it in a way I could. He looked at me like I was furniture, like I was something Vivian had outgrown but was too polite to throw away. He never asked me questions, never looked me in the eye. When I served dinner, he'd thank the air above my head, not me. Vivian didn't seem to notice, or maybe she did and she didn't care. They got married 6 months later. A big wedding at a country club I'd never heard of. I wasn't involved in the planning. Vivian said she wanted to handle it herself, that she didn't want me to stress. I wore a dress I bought at a department store. It was the nicest thing I owned. Vivian wore a gown that cost more than my car. I cried during the ceremony. Not because I was happy, because I felt like I was losing her. And I was right. After the wedding, Vivian's calls became shorter. Her visits became less frequent. She was busy, she said. Roland's work kept them traveling. They were building a life. I understood, or at least I tried to. And then, 3 years ago, I had a stroke. It was mild, the doctors said. I was lucky, but my left side was weaker now. My balance was off. I couldn't live alone safely anymore. Vivian came to the hospital the day after it happened. She sat beside my bed, holding my hand, tears streaming down her face. "Mom," she whispered, "you're coming to live with us. I'm not letting you go through this alone." I cried. I thought it was proof. Proof that she still loved me. That I still mattered. I sold my house, a small 2-bedroom bungalow on the south side, and gave Vivian $70,000 to help with renovations. They needed to add a bedroom on the first floor, she said. Accessible bathroom. Ramps. I thought I was investing in family. I was investing in my own destruction. Moving in with Vivian and Roland felt wrong from the first day. The house was beautiful. A 4-bedroom colonial in a gated community with manicured lawns and stone fountains. The kind of place I used to clean, not live in. My room was on the first floor, just off the kitchen. It was small, painted beige. There was a bed, a dresser, and a chair. No pictures on the walls, no curtains on the windows. It felt like a hospital room. Vivian said it was temporary. That once I got stronger, we'd decorate it together. We never did. The first few weeks were fine. Vivian cooked meals. Roland was polite if distant. I tried to stay out of the way. I didn't want to be a burden. But slowly, things began to shift. Vivian stopped asking how I felt. She stopped sitting with me during meals. She stopped looking at me when she talked. I'd hear her on the phone in the next room, laughing with friends, making plans. Plans that never included me. I started to feel invisible. Like I was a ghost in their home. And then I overheard the conversation. It was early in the morning. I'd gotten up to make tea. My hands were shaky and I moved slowly, trying not to drop anything. Vivian was in the living room on the phone. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but her voice carried. "She's not going to last much longer anyway," she said. I froze. The teacup trembled in my hand. The doctor said her heart's weak. Vivian continued. "We just need to be patient." There was a pause. And then she laughed. Soft. Almost casual. "I know. I've already been looking at that place in the Hamptons. We'll have more than enough once everything's sorted." I set the cup down before I dropped it. My chest felt tight, not from my heart, from something worse. I wanted to storm in there. I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand an explanation. But I didn't, because part of me was afraid of what she'd say. That morning, something inside me changed. I stopped waiting for her to love me. I started watching, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Vivian had started controlling everything. My medications were kept in a locked drawer in the kitchen. She said it was for safety, that I might accidentally take too much, but I noticed that my prescriptions were often late. That my pills ran out before the refill came. When I mentioned it, she'd sigh, "Mom, I ordered them. It's not my fault the pharmacy is slow." But I'd called the pharmacy myself once, using the landline when she was out. They said there were no pending orders under my name. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Then there was the food. Vivian knew about my heart condition, knew I needed low-sodium, low-fat, balanced meals, but every dinner she made was loaded with salt, fried chicken, mashed potatoes drowning in butter, pasta with heavy cream sauces. When I asked for something lighter, she'd look at me like I was being difficult. "Mom, I'm cooking for the whole family. If you don't like it, make something yourself." But my hands shook too much to use the stove safely. So I ate what she made, and I felt worse. I started losing weight. My clothes hung off me. My face looked hollow. Vivian didn't seem to notice. Or maybe she did. Then there was the isolation. My friends from church, women I'd known for 30 years, would call the house. Vivian would answer. "She's resting right now," she'd say sweetly. "I'll have her call you back." She never told me they'd called. I only found out because one of them, a woman named Dolores, showed up at the house unannounced. Vivian answered the door. I heard them talking in the hallway. "I've been calling for weeks," Dolores said. "Is MJ okay?" "She's fine," Vivian replied, her voice tight. "She's just been tired." "The doctor said she needs rest." "Can I see her?" "Not right now. She's sleeping." I wasn't sleeping. I was sitting in my room, 10 feet away, wide awake. Dolores left. She never came back. I tried to bring it up with Vivian later. "Why didn't you tell me Dolores called?" She looked at me blankly. "Did she?" "I don't remember. She was lying. I knew she was lying, but I couldn't prove it." And that's when I asked to see my financial statements. It was a simple request. I just wanted to check my accounts, make sure everything was in order. Vivian's face changed. "Why do you need to see that?" she asked. "Because it's my money," I said. "Mom, Roland's handling everything. You don't need to stress about it." "I'm not stressed. I just want to see it. You don't trust us." The way she said it made me feel guilty. Like I was the one doing something wrong. That's not what I said. "Then why are you asking?" I didn't have an answer. At least not when I was ready to say out loud. She never showed me the statements, and I didn't ask again. Not then. But the feeling in my gut, the one I'd been trying to ignore, grew louder. Something was very, very wrong. I started paying attention to the small things. The way Vivian's wardrobe seemed to expand every month. New handbags, new shoes, jewelry I'd never seen before. The way Roland talked about investments, about properties, about opportunities. The way they'd go quiet when I entered the room. And then there was the night I'll never forget. It was late, past midnight. I woke up because I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it was being crushed. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. My left arm tingled. I knew what it was. Another stroke, or a heart attack. I reached for the medical alert button Vivian had clipped to my nightstand. One of those emergency devices you press when you need help. I pressed it. Nothing happened. I pressed it again. Still nothing. The battery was dead. I had mentioned it to Vivian days ago. Asked her to replace it. She'd said she would. She hadn't. Panic set in. I tried to get out of bed. Tried to walk to the door, but my legs wouldn't hold me. I fell. The sound of my body hitting the floor was dull and heavy. Like a sack of flour. Pain shot through my hip. I tried to call out, but my voice came out as a wheeze. "Vivian." "Nothing." "Vivian, please." I heard something. A door opening upstairs. Footsteps. Thank God. She's coming. But the footsteps didn't come toward my room. They went down the hallway, down the stairs. I heard the refrigerator door open. I heard the sound of glass, liquid pouring, footsteps again. Coming back up the stairs. Past my room. Past the door I was lying 3 feet away from. Into her bedroom. The door clicked shut. I lay there on the cold floor, my body shaking, tears streaming down my face. She heard me. I know she did. And she walked past. I don't know how long I stayed there. It felt like hours. Eventually, I managed to pull myself up using the bed frame. My hips screamed in pain. My chest still felt tight. But I was alive. Barely. The next morning, Vivian came downstairs like nothing had happened. She made coffee, checked her phone, hummed softly to herself. I was sitting at the kitchen table, bruises already forming on my arm and hip. She glanced at me. "You okay, Mom? You look tired." I stared at her. And I knew. She wasn't going to help me. She was waiting for me to die. That morning, I made a decision. I called my lawyer. His name is Mr. Patterson. I'd worked with him years ago when I set up my will. He was old school, honest, the kind of man who still wore a suit to the grocery store. I used the landline in the hallway when Vivian went out. Mr. Patterson, I said quietly. I need to see my financial records. All of them. There was a long pause. Mrs. James, is everything all right? No. I said. It's not. He didn't ask questions. He said he'd send everything to my email. But I didn't have access to my email anymore. Vivian had changed the password months ago, said it was for security. So I asked Mr. Patterson to send it to my neighbor instead. Her name is Alice. A woman in her 60s who lived 2 doors down. We'd spoken a few times when I still went for walks. I walked to her house the next afternoon. It took me 20 minutes. My hip hurt with every step. But I made it. Alice let me use her computer. And when the email loaded, my hands started shaking so badly I could barely use the mouse. I opened the attachment, and I saw it. My account, the one with $318,000, had $52 left. 52. The rest had been transferred out over the course of 2.5 years. To Vivian's personal account, to Roland's business, to accounts I didn't recognize. I scrolled through the transaction history. 10,000 here. 15,000 there. A $25,000 wire transfer labeled home improvement. Another 30,000 labeled investment opportunity. 50,000 to a luxury car dealership. It went on and on and on. My entire life savings. Gone. I sat there staring at the screen, tears streaming down my face, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Alice put her hand on my shoulder. What do you need me to do? She asked quietly. Print it, I whispered. Print everything. She did. I took the stack of papers, 47 pages, and I walked back to Vivian's house. I didn't say a word when I got there. I just went to my room and locked the door. I read every page, every transaction, every lie. And I waited. That evening, Vivian came home from wherever she'd been. I heard her laughing with Roland in the kitchen. I heard them open a bottle of wine. I heard them talking about a trip they were planning, somewhere in Europe. I walked out of my room, the folder in my hand. They were sitting at the kitchen island, glasses of red wine in front of them. Vivian looked up when she saw me. She smiled. Hey. Mom. You feeling okay? I didn't answer. I just walked over and set the folder on the counter between us. Her smile faltered. What's this? Open it. She glanced at Roland. He shrugged. She opened the folder. I watched her face. The color drained from her cheeks, her lips parted, her hands started to shake. Roland leaned over to look, his jaw tightened. For a long moment, nobody spoke. And then Vivian tried to smile. Mom, I can explain. No, I said quietly. You can't. It's not what it looks like. I laughed. It was a bitter, hollow sound. It's exactly what it looks like, I said. You stole from me. I didn't steal. You took every dollar I saved. You forged my signature. You transferred my money into your accounts, and you spent it on cars and trips and a beach house while I was dying in the next room. Her face went red. That's not fair, Mom. Fair? My voice cracked. You want to talk about fair? Roland stood up. Mrs. James, I think you're confused. Don't, I said, my voice sharp. Don't you dare. He sat back down. I looked at Vivian. Really looked at her. And I saw a stranger. You had power of attorney, I said. I gave it to you because I trusted you. Because I thought you'd protect me. I did protect you. You watched me fall on the floor, and you walked past me. Her mouth opened, closed. I called for you, I said, my voice shaking. I was on the floor. I couldn't breathe. And you poured yourself a drink and went back to bed. Tears welled up in her eyes, but they weren't tears of guilt. They were tears of anger. You don't understand what it's like, she said, her voice rising. Taking care of you. It's exhausting, Mom. You're exhausting. I felt like I'd been slapped. So you decided to rob me. It wasn't robbery. It was compensation. Compensation. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. For what? For everything, she shouted. For putting my life on hold. For dealing with your medications and your doctors and your constant needs. I never asked you to take me in. You didn't have to. What was I supposed to do? Let you rot in some state-funded nursing home? Yes, I said quietly, if this was the alternative. She stared at me. And then she said the words that broke me. You weren't going to use that money anyway, Mom. You were just going to die and leave it sitting there. I felt the room tilt. So you decided to spend it for me. We needed it more than you did. That was it. That was the truth. She didn't feel guilty. She felt entitled. I picked up the folder. I'm leaving. I said. Where are you going to go? Roland asked, his voice cold. You can't take care of yourself. I'd rather die alone than live here. I walked back to my room, packed a bag, and I called Mr. Patterson. He picked me up an hour later. Vivian didn't try to stop me. She didn't apologize. She didn't say goodbye. She just watched me leave. And when I looked back at the house I'd helped pay for, I saw her standing in the window, counting money. Mr. Patterson helped me find a place. A small assisted living apartment on the east side. 1 bedroom, clean, safe, affordable. It's not much, but it's mine. I filed a report with Adult Protective Services. They opened an investigation. I also filed a civil lawsuit against Vivian and Roland for financial exploitation and elder abuse. The case is still pending. I don't know if I'll ever see that money again. Honestly, I don't care anymore. The money was never the point. The point was that my daughter, the person I sacrificed everything for, looked at me and saw a paycheck. She saw an inheritance. She saw something to wait for. And when I needed her most, she turned her back. I haven't spoken to Vivian since the day I left. She's tried calling a few times. I didn't answer. There's nothing left to say. I spend my days quietly now. I go to physical therapy twice a week. I've made friends with some of the other residents here. We play cards. We watch old movies. We talk about our lives. Most of them have similar stories. Children who disappeared. Grandchildren who only call when they need money. Families who forgot them. We're not bitter. We're just done pretending. Last month, Alice came to visit. She brought me flowers. We sat on my little balcony and drank tea, and she told me something that stuck with me. She said, you know what the saddest part is? You raised her to be strong, independent, successful. And she is all of those things. She just forgot to be kind. She was right. I did raise Vivian to be strong. I taught her to fight for what she wanted. I taught her that hard work pays off. I taught her to never settle. But I forgot to teach her that some things matter more than money. Like integrity, like loyalty, like love. And now she's out there somewhere, living in a beautiful house, wearing expensive clothes, taking lavish trips. And I'm here. In a 1-bedroom apartment with a balcony that overlooks a parking lot. But I can breathe. I can sleep. I can look at myself in the mirror. And that's something she'll never have. Because greed doesn't just take your money, it takes your soul. And I don't think she'll ever get hers back. 6 months later, I got the call. The case had gone to court. Vivian and Roland were ordered to repay every dollar they stole, plus damages. Their assets were frozen. The beach house they just bought. Seized. Roland's business accounts. Drained to pay me back. Vivian's jewelry, her car, everything they'd purchased with my money was taken. But that wasn't the best part. The best part was when Adult Protective Services flagged them both. Vivian lost her nursing license. She'd been working part-time at a private clinic. Gone. Roland's firm launched an internal investigation when they found out about the fraud. He was fired within a week. I got a letter from Vivian 2 months ago. She was begging. Actually begging. They were broke. Facing bankruptcy. She wanted me to drop the charges. Said she was sorry. Said she'd made a mistake. I burned the letter. And you know what? I sleep better now than I have in years, because the universe has a way of balancing the scales. She took my money, my dignity, my trust. And in return, she lost everything that mattered to her. Her reputation, her career, her precious lifestyle. I didn't get revenge. Justice did it for me. What this taught me was that love is not the same as loyalty. You can sacrifice everything for someone and still mean nothing to them when money is involved. Protect yourself. Protect your assets. Protect your dignity. Even from the people you think would never hurt you. Especially from them. Thank you for listening.